had made that my identity, there was a part of me that there was a bit of pride there that, oh, this is what I'm known as.
Whereas someone who might be doing your role might not even get that opportunity, but because of your excellence, you've been able to have like certain doors open for you.
But you know, you have those people that are naturally type A personalities. I am not a type A. I did have several moments where I was like, maybe I should just stick to the 9 to 5.
That monetary goal, that is gold.
Yeah.
People need to take that away with them. I think that's really good because it takes it away from... Welcome to another episode of the Fruitful Woman podcast. I'm your host, Funbi, and over here we talk all things faith and personal development. In this episode, we'll be talking about juggling your 9 to 5 alongside with being an entrepreneur. In a time where a lot of people are striving to quit their 9 to 5 and go into business full time, there are a lot of us who are still juggling the two. Today, I have a really good friend of mine who is doing exactly that. I've known her for well over 10 years now, and I've literally seen her start the job, start the business, and literally work her way up. And she is doing it excellently. She's very passionate about sharing about her wins and her lessons, and so I thought it'd be really, really good to have her on today. She works at a tech company while also running a thriving makeup artistry business. She's also a loving wife and a mother. Today, my guest is my wonderful sis, IBK Aluko.
Oh my God. I forgot that was my surname.
Yeah, I know. I almost said your maiden name and I was like, actually, she's got a new name now. Welcome to the show.
Thank
or the
you.
podcast, rather. How are you doing today?
I am good.
So for anyone who doesn't know you, give us a little brief introduction into who IBK is.
So I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a child of God. I love Jesus. He loves me. And I work full-time 9 to 5 as a corporate babe. And I also run a business.
Awesome.
Makeup
Tell us a bit
artistry.
about your business and what you do at work as well.
So I'm a bridal makeup artist. I'm a makeup artist, but I specialize in bridal. So I feel like I've carved that lane out for myself. At work, I work in HR/recruitment, and I've been doing that for 10 years now, which is crazy to say out loud. Literally 10 years.
No. I think about that as well. When I think, I've been in my career for like 10 years, I'm like, what? But I just graduated yesterday. What's going on?
So crazy.
But yeah, we're like all well into our careers now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in terms of juggling the two, how do you structure your time? Because I can imagine that working in a tech company can be quite busy, but also makeup is very, very demanding, especially because you're doing bridal. You're going to be there for the whole day. So what do you do to help you like structure your time?
I would say that it's very, very challenging. It's been one of the things that I have found really challenging in this season. I was on maternity leave last year with my son and I returned to my 9 to 5 in January. But whilst I was on maternity leave, I was still doing makeup for the most part, which... mistake. But anyway,
we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that. But yeah, so then coming back, and I remember while I was on maternity leave, just doing makeup, I was like, oh my God, like this feels so good because there was a whole part of my brain that was now available because I wasn't also thinking about my 9 to 5 work. So coming back to my 9 to 5 in January and going back full time, and then also juggling my 9 to 5, my business, but also still wanting to be present for my son, still wanting to be a good wife, still wanting to be a good homemaker. It was really challenging. And I had a lot of moments, honestly speaking, and I always keep it 100% real, where I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
As in like go back to work or?
I don't know. Well... Doing both.
Okay.
I felt that something would eventually need to give, but I don't believe that you should only have one source of income.
100%.
And so for me, it really wasn't an option to drop one. And so I really had to lean in. I think what really encouraged me in the times or the moments where it was really challenging, there was actually a sermon or a teaching I listened to about the Proverbs 31 woman. And the guy was talking about the fact that she basically, I can't remember how many businesses he listed looking at that scripture, but it was like she had like 5 or 6 different things that she was doing. And so then I realized that there's actually grace. Like that woman wouldn't be in the Bible or wouldn't be spoken about if it wasn't a possibility for us to also live the same life. So I realized it is possible. And so for me, one thing that's really helped is, first of all, understanding that there is grace and leaning into that grace. At the very beginning of the year, I went to an event called
Worship Brunch.
Yeah, Worship Brunch. And one of the things that the preacher was talking about was allowing God to organize your chaos.
Yes,
and that was right at the beginning of the year. And I knew that was a word for me, because I'm not, you have those people that are naturally type A personalities. I am not a type A babe. I am very much like, let's just
Type
be going with the flow. Yeah. But you cannot. I don't have the capacity to operate like that as a mum, a wife, a full-time worker, and a business owner.
Yeah.
It will end in chaos. And so I really had to allow God, the Holy Spirit, to direct me and to challenge me, one, not to give up, because in those moments I'd be like, God, I don't know if I can do this, please, it's too much. And he'd just be like, no, there's grace. He'd show me through like the words of listening, there is grace. Also remind me that he's there to order my chaos.
Yeah.
He had to really guide me in how much I was taking on. I think the structure comes from accepting that you can't do it all.
Yeah.
You can, but you need to be wise about how you want to do this. I started to make rules for myself. For example, once I have a certain number, I've made a certain amount from my business in a month, then my diary is closed.
That's an interesting one.
Yep.
Wait, did you just come up with that yourself, or you saw it somewhere?
No, what I can say is inspired by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know where the idea came from apart from him. So, make a certain month certain amount in the month, and then my diary is closed for that month. So even if it's like, I think back in February or January, my August was fully booked, and it was like no more bookings for August.
That's
right?
Really, really good.
And also being intentional about carving out time for rest, apart from the monetary goal, also, or target, also so I have a virtual assistant, and I say to her, I need at least one weekend every month where I don't have any bookings.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. So that also helps with not only rest, recuperation, but also being present, a present mom, making sure that we're spending time together as a family. My husband is very, very keen on not letting life just pass us by. Yeah. Just working, and then you don't, there's no relationship building, there's no cultivating of family time. So that's another way that the Lord helped me to structure my time and things like that. And I won't say that, in those moments, it's been a process getting there. So it wasn't like that initially. It's like, okay, as I've gone to the Lord, oh God, I can't do this, these ideas are dropping. So it's like, it's happening in a sequence. And so there have been very messy times. There's been times of frustration. There's been times of feeling burnt out. There's been times of just feeling tired, because that being a mum is a 24/7 job. You don't stop being a mum. There's no having a horizontal day when you're a mum. Imagine. Your toddler will come and jump on your head. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So I would say that it hasn't been a perfect journey. I think I'm even still figuring it out now. But the more that I progress on the journey, and the more that I allow God into my process and just into my life, and to literally come in and put order where there is chaos, the more I feel like the Holy Spirit leads me into the hows, the whys, and you should do this, and things like that. So it's not like the perfect answer, but it's my reality at the moment. And I'm learning that it's actually okay to not have it all together. Like,
absolutely.
It's okay to be going through a process of refining and finding, what normal looks like for me in this season.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on, actually, because of the fact that you do like to share the struggles, the lessons, I didn't get this right, but this is what I'm doing to fix it. Because sometimes people think when you are balancing both, it's like, oh, you have to be perfect, you have to get it right. But actually, you won't be. It's a journey, and eventually you'll get there. And I just love that there are places where you have got to, and you're like, this works, actually, I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah.
That monetary goal, that is gold.
Yeah.
People need to take that away with them. I think that's really good, because it takes it away from being greedy.
Yep.
As well, because I think sometimes when you realize that apart from your 9 to 5, there's another way for you to make money. You just think, I'm going all in. I'm going to make as much money as I can. Yep. Become greedy, almost like mammon becomes your God. You become money driven completely. And I think that helps you stop that.
Absolutely. And I think it also helps you to put the reliance back on God. I think, in being a business owner, or having whatever way that you're using to make money, you become your provider. You don't remember, or you forget that actually God is your provider. He is the one that provides for you. And so even in a season where you're like, how is it going to happen? You know, I was saying to a friend earlier today that, oh, Mo, we've got this, we've got that going on. And honestly speaking, I don't know like how it's going to happen. But one thing I can be sure of is that Jehovah is my provider.
Yes.
And so there's no way we're not going to be in want. We're not going to be begging for bread. We're not like it's impossible. And I think you're right. Like, you know, taking that moment, taking stock and being like, okay, you've made so and such amount allows you to be like, that's how much God wants you to make for this season. And it's okay.
Yeah.
You know? And if there are needs that you're worrying about, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to think that, oh, I need to.
Yeah.
Like God will work it out.
Yeah,
literally.
Absolutely. Love that. You spoke about some of the times where it wasn't so perfect and you kind of like maybe hit a bump in the road and then had to like rethink. Could you give us some examples of those times just for the audience to like learn from it?
Absolutely. I think, I can't remember when it was, at some point this year where I felt like I was just going. And I think there was a day that I stopped and I looked at my diary and I realized I'd not spent time with my son. All I was doing was going to work and going to this and going to that. And I was like, go more. I decided in that moment that before anything, I'm a mum and I'm a wife. I'm a wife, right? And like money can be made at any time. Money is money. I can make it when I'm 60 years old. I can make it when I'm 50 years old. Oh, I can make it now. But what I don't want to do is create, because that's what you're doing. You're creating a home environment where my children think that they are second to me making money.
Yeah.
Or my children don't have any core memories of us spending quality time together as a family.
Yeah.
Because it's also something, when I was pregnant with my son, I had to have an internal conversation with myself, Holy Spirit, about my identity. And because I'd been known as, you know, superwoman. Oh, she's booked and busy. Oh, she's so, you know, she's juggling 9 to 5 and Kinika. And sorry, I don't know if you guys understand.
Go for it. They will.
And she's doing all of this stuff. And that formed a part of who I believed I was. Everybody saw me as this, like, she's a hustler.
Yeah, she does it all.
Right.
Can I just say, this woman has done so many businesses. Literally, you've done food, you've done hair, makeup, obviously, MCing. She literally does juggle it all, like, and she does it excellently. That's one thing about her. Like, if you've ever had her as your makeup artist, if you've had her as your makeup artist, leave a comment down below because someone actually requested you to be on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh,
so yeah, you're you know. But yeah, sorry, go on.
So when I was pregnant, I was having that conversation with myself that who am I going to be as a mum? Do I still want to be known as this hustler and I'm booked and busy? And I started to have that conversation with myself because I know that I want to be a present mom. I knew that while I was pregnant. I knew that before I was pregnant. I know what kind of home I wanted to cultivate. And so I had to have that internal conversation with myself to be like, you need to be okay with not being that person anymore. And also being booked and busy, being the hustler, being the person that's known as this, that's not who you are. It's a part of what makes you, but it's not your identity. I realized that the reason I had to have that conversation with myself and the reason I was a bit uncomfortable with the reality of that was because I had made that my identity. There was a part of me that there was a bit of pride there that, oh, this is what I'm known as. I'm known as, you know, IBK the hustler, IBK she works so hard, IBK this, IBK that. And I knew because of the kind of mother I wanted to be that I'm going to need to take a step back from that. Having that conversation with myself made me realize that one, I had rooted a part of my identity in the person, in the praise of man, to be honest. And I had to strip that back, or I had to allow the Lord to strip that back and be like, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
You know, it's a grace I've given you, but in this season, I'm going to need you to take a step back.
Yeah.
And you need to be okay with that. And I know the Lord, in as much as, you know, that was something that the Lord had to take me through that journey to understand, I think as well, He also knows me. You know, the Bible says before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you.
Yeah.
He knows us intimately.
Yeah.
And he knew that if I didn't nip that in the bud at that time while I was still pregnant, coming into this season and still trying to do it all, I would have been so frustrated and disappointed in myself as a mum.
Yeah.
Because that's not who I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, in that moment, taking it back to your question about, you know, where there's been times where it's been like eye-opening or, you know, a bit frustrating, I had to like almost remind myself of that conversation I had while I was pregnant and be like, this is not the mum that you said you were going to be, babes.
Yeah.
You need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And so that's even part of, you know, when I was saying earlier about, you know, God giving me that idea of, oh, you know, once you've made a certain amount, or carving out a weekend in the month where you don't have it, that it came out of that realization that, oh my gosh, a whole month has gone by and I've not spent any time with this boy. He's seen me come in, come out. I've done some bedtimes and whatever, but we've not had quality time together. I've not taken him out. He doesn't go to nursery, so I really love to take him out and experience things. So yeah, that would be one of the moments that I think were like a moment of realization that, oh, you're not doing what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And I think even just to, again, speaking candidly, like even in marriage, especially because, so my husband is very hands-on with our son, but he also works full-time and he's also a photographer. And so in the moments where at that time, my mother-in-law hadn't come yet. So she's here at the moment helping us with our son, but at that time she wasn't around. And I think when I'm so busy and I'm doing that and I'm juggling, the load falls on him. So that can cause friction and tension in a marriage too, because marriage is, in this season I'm in at the moment, is about everybody supporting. Like, I'm supporting you, you're supporting me. But when it becomes, I'm supporting you, I'm supporting you, I'm supporting you, I'm supporting you, and you don't feel supported, that can cause tension and friction.
Yeah, I can imagine. I love that, because identity doesn't always come into it. People just go. And being able to stop and notice that actually my season is changing. What does this then mean for how I show
Operate.
up? I love that. And I think I saw a post maybe a couple of weeks ago about you talking about balance and how, like, we know balance looks different in different seasons. But I love what you said. You said that booked and busy looks very different for me in this season. Let's talk about that.
So
because people strive for that so much, booked and busy. But what does that actually mean when you're also working a 9 to 5 and have other commitments as well?
And I think it's real. I think, again, because of the age of social media that we're in, we compare ourselves a lot. Oh, this makeup artist is being flown out here, flown out there, and she's doing this and she's doing that, and she's got millions of bookings in a month or, in a week or whatever have you. And if I want to weigh myself or compare myself to somebody that is just doing makeup, and I'm saying, oh, I want to also be as booked and busy as they are, or as I was prior to being a mum and being a wife, that will lead to frustration because I have a 9 to 5, someone that is just an entrepreneur and that is their main bag. They can afford to work all the hours God sets. That's them. That's their situation. But I think realizing that, one, my setup is entirely different. And also, everybody's philosophy when it comes to the kind of mum, wife, friend, sister, whatever they want to be is different. Who do you want to be? Because that will dictate how you operate. And for me, again, as I said, I want to be a present mum. I want my son to see me hustling. I want my children to see that, you can hustle, you can do all the things, but I also want them to be like, no, but my mum was there. I don't know how did she do it actually, because she was working a lot, but I also remember that we had all this fun together, right? Booked and busy for me in this season looks entirely different to when I wasn't a mum or when I wasn't a wife, because back then I could work Monday to Sunday I was working. My friend at one point said to me, I remember it was 2022, she said, you work like a single mum with 3 kids. And I was like
rent is due tomorrow.
It's so true. I need to calm down. But at the time I could, because I was single. I didn't have any responsibilities. Now I do. I can't work that same way.
And I think that's key as well. Like, do what you can for the season that you're in. Like, if you don't have, even if you do have a 9 to 5 or whatever, if you don't have other responsibilities, work hard. Like, do everything you can, because there will come a season where you can't do that. So,
Absolutely. And I say that all the time. Like, when you're single, you don't have responsibilities, whatever the case may be, do all you can in that season. I look back at that season now and I'm like, I'm glad I did it. But I did it for that season, and now this is the season that I'm in. And so booked and busy looks different for me in this season, because it's just not the same. I'm still booked and busy by some people's standards, but if you want to compare to the standard of me before, I'm not as booked and busy.
Yeah.
But I don't care
You're okay
about
with
that. I'm very okay with the booked and busy for IBK MUA in this season, because it means that I can be present as a mum. And the thing is, it's not even just about being present. It's about having the capacity, not feeling tired, not feeling burnt out. If you have an energetic child and they want to run around, this boy, you can wake up in the morning, he'll come to our room and he'll be like, he doesn't want cuddles anymore. He wants me to get up from the bed. He's like, come, we need to go there and have fun, start our fun now. And so I need to be physically able to do that. But if I'm working all the hours God sends, how am I going to do that? I can't. That's how booked and busy looks different for me in this season. It's entirely, I'm just not allowing myself to get to the place of burnt out. Even when I mentioned, some makeup artists are being flued out and all this stuff. I have a quota of 3 destination brides I do a year.
Fair enough.
After in a year, I'm not doing any more than that, because I'm away from home too much, and it takes a lot out of you as well. So yeah,
that's amazing. In terms of your 9 to 5, then how does it affect that? Do you find that your energy is like dipping for your 9 to 5, or do you think, okay, like how do you structure that? How do you make sure that you're still excelling in your 9 to 5? Because I know that you are. Like, you be posting on LinkedIn as well. So she's really good at what she does. So how do you balance that? And then also, you was talking about, like, during your maternity leave, how you was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to juggle the two. Going back to it, like, how was that as well?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with the last question, going back. So going back to work was a shock to the system. And I think I have this view of myself that I think I can just take on anything. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And so it was actually really humbling, actually going back to work in the first couple of months, because I was like, oh. And working in a tech company, a startup, in a startup environment, things change very regularly. So then even in a week, things can change. So then imagine having a whole year off and coming back. So much has changed in that time. And so it was a really humbling experience for me, because it meant that I was asking a lot of questions. I had to lean on my colleagues a lot for support in terms of, oh, how do you do this? Can you show me how you do this again? And so it was a really overwhelming and humbling experience, because I'd gone from managing my own time, not thinking about my 9 to 5 for a whole year, to coming back and having structure again, having to wake up at a certain time, having to log on every day, having to go into the office as well, because we have a hybrid working arrangement at the moment. And so it was very challenging. It was a lot more challenging than I imagined it would be. I definitely didn't take into account the fact that having a full-time job and being a mum alone, that's 2 jobs.
Yes, yeah.
And then you want to add, the business aspect to it as well. So it was challenging. But I would say to anyone that's in that situation where you're returning to work after long leave or maternity leave, is that give yourself grace. Nobody expects you to know it all. It's actually okay to be like, I was very uncomfortable with not knowing what I needed to do, or or feeling like, oh, am I now behind in my career? Like, I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, like having to relearn things, because it didn't make sense, because I've been doing my job. I'd been in this company for, at that point, 4 years. So coming back, I'm like, I should know these things, but I didn't. And I had to relearn, and I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So the experience was very, very humbling. But you know what? After a couple of months, I would say probably about 3 months, I feel like I found my rhythm again. And you know what's really actually helped with that, with the juggling of the entrepreneur and working 9 to 5, again, it all kind of like plays into each other, because I'm not filling my diary with so many bookings and things like that. It means I have the capacity to pour into work the way I should. Definitely, again, it all plays into each other. The fact that I'm not filling my diary so much with bookings, and I have a day of rest. Sunday I don't take bookings, so I have Sunday to recuperate. And it also helps that I can work from home as well, so there's some flexibility there. So I don't know, I really want to say, right, because it sounds silly, but I really do, because I really did pray, before going back to work, that God give me, I want to be favored, I want the spirit of excellence. We were studying a book in our church last year, the book of Daniel, and what really inspired me about him was his excellence. And so I was like, this guy, he wasn't just a Christian, he was excellent in his workplace. And it was the fact that excellence is what pointed people back to God.
Yeah.
And so it was more of a resolve in myself that you need to be excellent. So when people look at you, they're like, this girl is excellent. And they can start to question their questions will rise in their head that, why is she excellent? They'll come and ask me, why are you excellent? I'll tell you, it's the grace of God.
Yeah.
And point them back to Jesus. So I think for me, it was more of a resolve that whatever I need to do to be excellent at this job, I will be excellent at this job. And I think it actually really, really did pay off, that prayer and that, conviction or whatever from, studying the book of Daniel, because it's so ironic that in this period that I've come back to work as a mom and all the things, is the most positive feedback I've had from my stakeholders and my colleagues than I've had in prior years. So, so I think there's definitely a grace for favor and excellence that I prayed about, but also it is about you put in the work and you put that onus on yourself to be excellent in everything that you do so that people can look at you and see God.
Yeah, I love that. So, it's like seeing the bigger picture, because I think sometimes with entrepreneurship or when you're juggling them both, people see their 9 to 5 as a means to an end, or like just to fund their business or just to make sure the rent is paid. And it's like, actually, no, like wherever we are, we're supposed to be the light. We're supposed to be excellent because there's a bigger picture where it's like we're pointing them back to God.
Jesus, yeah.
So absolutely. And I think it can open doors for you in other things, because I know you've done other things where you like speaking on panels and stuff like that, whereas someone who might be doing your role might not even get that opportunity, but because of your excellence, you've been able to have like certain doors open for you. Did you ever feel the pressure to just pick one and not do both?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, when was this?
Yes. So in the beginning of the year, when I was still trying to like find my feet and it felt very, very chaotic, I had several moments where
because you don't have to, like financially, you could probably just pick your business.
Yeah. Or pick my 9 to 5 because that's more stable.
Yeah.
Business is not as stable as 9 to 5. Let's not, because I think that a lot of people think that, entrepreneurship, but if there's 1 month that things are drying up, and you're looking,
that's true.
So it's not always easy. So at the beginning of the year where I was finding my feet, I did have several moments where I was like, maybe I should just stick to the 9 to 5. Or I don't know, doing makeup alone probably wasn't something that I thought about doing, just because, again, being a mum now, I would want something more stable, something that would pay me whilst I was on maternity leave. I wouldn't feel like I need to go back to, work straight away because of finances and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely had those moments where I was like, I don't think this is possible. Actually, I think this is too much.
So how did you overcome that?
God, literally. So it was, again, having that conversation with God and realizing that there is grace, as we mentioned earlier, the Proverbs 31 woman, realizing that there is grace. I think when I had that realization, I leaned more into, okay, God, you help me because there's grace. So then give me the grace and tell me how I should do this.
So obviously with balancing both, there must be times where you have to like delegate or outsource certain things. Like what do you outsource and how do you like go about managing that? And how has it actually helped? Because I feel like sometimes in our businesses, we become like the bottleneck where everything stops with us. So how did you like kind of find your way around that?
Yeah, so I realized that I definitely don't have the capacity to do all of the admin. And again, because I don't have a type A personality naturally, I needed someone that does have that type A personality. And so I do have a virtual assistant who handles my calendar. She handles all of my emails. She literally manages my life from a business perspective. And I think delegation is and I know a lot of business owners, because it requires you to spend money, but sometimes spending that money can stop you from losing monty.
It's an investment.
Because if, for example, I didn't have a VA, I'm so sure there would have been opportunities I would have lost out on because I didn't have time to do my emails on a certain day. Maybe someone's looking for an urgent, request, and maybe I've not logged onto my emails for 2 days because I'm too busy. So I think in as much as you're spending money, that spending money is an investment because you will make that money back. Something I'm looking into at the moment actually is outsourcing my social media. I do have, I think, a natural knack for content creation, and I'm very intentional about the way I put out content. But again, in this season, I don't have as much time to edit and put things together, and even the mental space to think about strategy in terms of when I should post and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually in conversations with someone at the moment who will be handling my social media. So I think delegating, again, even though it means that you will be spending money, as an entrepreneur and someone that has a 9-to-5, especially, the way that I can stay sane and again be present mom, present wife, and be all the things that I need to be in this season.
And so with everything that you do, how do you ensure that you don't forsake God? Because obviously you've spoken about, okay, I'm going to do this to make sure I'm a good mom, I'm going to do this to make sure I'm a good wife. But what do you do to make sure I'm a good daughter of God?
Well, the fact that I literally can't do this without him. Yeah. I'm like, and you know what I love about my relationship with the Lord is that he doesn't let me go too far. And I think again, being 100% candid and real with how busy it can get and how hectic it can be, there can go weeks where I've not like done a proper study, I've not had proper time to pray, and things like that. But there will always be a knocking that, IBK, where are you? Where are you? Yeah. Where are you? Where are you? I always find my way back. And in this season, again, being candid, I'm still finding my feet in that area. What does quiet time look like in this season? Yeah. What does study look like in this season? Sometimes it looks like, doing my study on the train on my way to work, my deep study. Sometimes one habit that I'm trying to imbibe is before I do anything in the day, spending time thanking God and read a scripture before I look at my phone, before I get up, before I start my day. That's, something I want to start doing. Also, what really helps as well is that when I put my son to bed, we have Bible time.
Yeah, that's so good. It helps you as well, doesn't it?
Honestly, I be learning things. I'm like, because, it's a Bible.
Yeah.
And I'm reading it to him, and I always, before we read, I always pray that, Lord, let prepare our hearts, let this sink in. So it's like, it's not just, I'm not praying for him, I'm praying for myself as well. So that also helps. And we have a time of prayer as well before he goes to sleep. So I really use that time to pray as well. So it doesn't look as structured and as nice and pretty as it did before, but it's what it needs to be in this season. And I really do be holding on to the Lord because he is my sustainer. He keeps me sane in this season. But yeah, no, I think as well, one thing that also helps is staying plugged into community. So staying plugged into my church, staying plugged into communities like the Fruitful Women, having people around that they are also striving towards being good stewards, being good daughters, being good sons of God helps. And also marrying a man that loves the Lord too.
How did Gen Z do it? Clark it. As in, very necessary. Yeah,
because like he will, as the priest of our home, he does really take it as his like responsibility to make sure that we are, as a family, he'll be like, babe, we need to crack this. Like, he wants us to be waking up at 6 a.m. to have our prayer together. How are we going to do this devotion as a family? We're still working it out. Like, we've tried the morning, it doesn't always work because of our different schedules. We've tried the evening, it doesn't always work. So, but it's the fact, it's the striving towards that place. Again, it's not always perfect, but as long as it's always on your mind, and being with somebody that is always on his mind and he's always like, babe, no, it's not good enough. We need to crack this. We need to do this. We need to do that. That definitely keeps me in check a lot. So
that's amazing. I've had the privilege of seeing how supportive your husband is. So it's really beautiful to see.
He's a good man, Savannah.
Yeah. Okay, so what does fruitfulness mean to you?
What does fruitfulness mean to me, particularly in this season? Fruitfulness means being excellent in all of the different things that the Lord has called me to in this season, but in the way that he would have me be fruitful, in the way, his definition of what fruitful looks like. And so, as I mentioned before, I may not be as busy, but I'm fruitful.
Yeah.
I may not be everywhere, but my son has a fruitful relationship with me. And it's so funny because to me before now, like, fruitful would be like, how much is in my account? How much have I made? But now it's like, actually, like, how does God want you to operate in your 9-to-5? What does fruitful look like in your business according to the Lord?
Yeah.
What kind of wife, mum does the Lord want you to be? So yeah, I would say that's what fruitful means to me in this
So I think
season.
having like a relationship with God is really key, because otherwise, how do you get the definition of what fruitfulness is for you?
Yeah.
It's different for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And final question.
Oh.
For this one,
Yes.
you're going to look at the camera because you're
Okay.
going to be speaking to the person on the other side
Okay.
because they could be listening on Spotify, to be honest, but you're going to be speaking to that person directly. Maybe they are in a position where they've got their 9 to 5, they've got their business, and they know that they're not meant to quit their 9 to 5, so they've got to juggle both. What would be your advice to them in terms of building a business and juggling that 9 to 5? That one piece of advice that you wish you had maybe 10 years ago.
I would say to somebody that is building their business and you also have a 9 to 5 that you should be excellent in all of your ways. In as much as I know you know what it is, what it feels like to be building your business, and you know that because it's your personal brand, you're going to show up on time, you're going to have the best customer service, you're going to answer people on time. But when it comes to your 9 to 5, you're late to work, you don't put as much effort because you're just like, oh, this is a means to an end. But the Lord actually calls us to be excellent in all of our ways. You are a representative of God even in the corporate world. And so people should look at you and be like, wow, she is really good. I wonder what she's got going on. And then you can point them back to the Lord. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. And I just know that conversation is going to bless people because there are a lot of people juggling it. And I think, what was said here today needs to be heard. Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. If you took anything valuable from this episode, I want you to talk about it in the comments. While you're there, give us a like and make sure you subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next episode.